Hi everybody, Stefan Molyneux from Free Domain Radio. Hope you're doing well. So, posted a video on Seth Rich last night. Some wild updates have occurred this morning. Wanted to keep you in on the loop of the updated truth about Seth Rich. Prepare to be Gordian knotted intellectually. So less than 24 hours after private investigator Rod Wheeler claimed that, quote, investigation up to this point shows there was some degree of email exchange between Seth Rich and WikiLeaks, the story has changed. Wheeler is now claiming that he had no additional evidence to suggest that Seth Rich contacted WikiLeaks prior to his murder. Rod Wheeler says, I only got that information from the reporter at Fox News. Now, this is a little confusing to me. Call me wet behind the ears, call me uninitiated in the complexities of these things. But there's a video of a reporter interviewing this guy where he says that he has evidence Seth Rich contacted WikiLeaks. I'm a little confused. Anyway, let us continue. Wheeler claims that he was only trying to preview the news for the original Fox 5 story. Yeah, don't worry. Don't worry. I have no idea what that means either. This about-face raises additional questions since Wheeler was specifically asked in the interview if he had sources connecting Seth Rich to WikiLeaks, and he responded, for sure, absolutely, yeah. That's confirmed. That's 4 times in 4 sentences. 2 words or less per sentence. The Metropolitan Police Department statement goes as follows. The assertions put forward by Mr. Wheeler are unfounded. The Metropolitan Police Department's MPD Homicide Branch is actively investigating Mr. Rich's murder, and we continue to work with the family to bring closure to this case as we do with all homicide investigations. To make things even more confusing, a separate Fox News story by Malier Zimmerman claims Wheeler was an original source whose claims were then corroborated by a federal investigator who personally spoke to Fox News. According to this anonymous federal investigator, quote, I have seen and read the emails between Seth Rich and WikiLeaks. Fox News has said the federal investigator who requested anonymity said 44,053 emails and 17,761 attachments between Democratic National Committee leaders spanning from January 2015 through late May 2016 were transferred from Rich to McFadden before May 21st. He was a filmmaker and head of WikiLeaks in London. So Fox News originally reported that the FBI conducted a forensic report of Rich's computer, but the FBI is claiming that it is not their case, and thus they are referring all Seth Rich-related inquiries to the DC police. Now, this is confusing because Wheeler said that the FBI may have the computer or the police may have the computer. He's heard both. So again, this is confusing. Now, anonymous sources, of course, are a big challenge. My particular opinion is that if Wheeler hadn't come forward and identified himself as somebody who had this information, it would have been far less credible to begin with. Now he's changed his mind. We have to follow the fish wherever it swims, right? A former law enforcement official with first-hand knowledge of the case commented to NBC News, Rich's laptop never contained any emails related to WikiLeaks, and the FBI never had it. So here we have battle of the Fox anonymous sources, battle of the NBC anonymous sources, and what seems like a recantation from the only named and identified source in the entire story. So things are getting just a little out of focus here. NBC News also reports that a current FBI official told them that the MPD never gave them Rich's laptop, implying it is still in the possession of the Metropolitan Police Department. Tuesday night, the investigator Wheeler appeared on Sean Hannity's program and said, the investigator came across as very credible. When you look at that with the totality of everything else that I found in this case, it's very consistent for a person with my experience to begin to think, well, perhaps there were some email communication between Seth and WikiLeaks. That's a little bit of an obfuscating word salad, but this is what he said. Now, Wheeler did make additional claims on Sean Hannity's program, but at this point, I think it's fair to say his inconsistency undermines his overall credibility quite a bit. Now, the Rich family spokesman Brad Bauman, who I referred to in last night's show, said, it is possible that this private investigator is in breach of a non-disclosure contract. The private investigator's public comments have seriously impeded the ability of the Metropolitan Police Department to investigate. Now, I talked about this last night, that there's supposed to have been a contract saying you can't speak to anyone except the police and the family without the permission of the family, which Wheeler seems to have done. When Wheeler was asked about possibly being in breach of contract, he said, "I don't know, it's hard to say. I think that's something I will have to work out with the family." So what do we know? Well, we know that Fox News has spoken to a federal investigator who confirms that Seth Rich had contact with WikiLeaks prior to his death. But given how much anonymous sourcing is now relevant or necessary, how much fake news is floating around, are we really going to rest our suppositions on the claims of anonymous sources exclusively? I would say not. With Wheeler's sudden about face, his credibility is in question. So the public face to these new accusations, in my opinion, can and should be discounted. So we know that the DNC's failure to hand over their server to the FBI for examination for what they claim was hacking, Russian hacking, and so on, well, that's less than credible. There is the CrowdStrike report, the IT company hired by the DNC to examine the servers, and they partly redacted their information regarding the sort of Russian intrusion thing, so that's less than credible. And the technological capabilities that were revealed in WikiLeaks' Vault 7 release, like all the tools that the alphabet soup of, quote, security agencies in the US have at their disposal to hack into, to cover tracks, to misdirect, to redirect, and so on. That is also makes everything going on pretty questionable. And the enormous interest that Julian Assange and WikiLeaks have taken in this 4 a.m. murder of the DNC staffer, it all greatly damages, in my opinion, the credibility of the Russian hacking accusations. So what are we left with? Well, we're left with anonymous sources. We're left with denials. We're left with a murder investigation that doesn't seem any closer to being solved than it did months and months ago. In my mind, so a couple of things. First of all, there was a physical altercation, it seems. Seth Rich was bruised and beaten and so on. No DNA evidence from that kind of physical altercation. I thought they could get a lot from very little. Also, with, I guess, 130, 20, like huge amounts of money, well over $100,000 for the successful prosecution of whoever committed this murder. If it was just sort of random street thugs, wouldn't people come forward for that kind of money to betray others? It's possible. The DNC has certainly never offered up a reward for whoever killed their staffer, which is interesting, not conclusive, but interesting. So it doesn't seem that we're any closer to solving this murder mystery than we were many, many months ago. Seth Rich might be a hero. He might just be enormously unlucky. The only thing I can say is rest in peace, Seth. At this rate, it seems we're likely never to know.